Rose was 26, a nurse at City Hope Hospital, and the kind of person whose presence softened any room she entered. Gentle in her words, calm in her actions, and endlessly compassionate. Her life was simple, but her heart was vast. She never had much money, yet she carried something far more valuable, a quiet purpose. Rose didn't choose nursing for prestige or a high salary. She chose it because healing people filled her with meaning. She loved tending to the sick, comforting those who felt forgotten, and offering hope to the ones who had none left. Her friends often shook their heads and teased her. "Rose, you're too soft. Everyone takes advantage of your kindness. You help everyone, but who helps you?" Rose would only smile. She was never bothered by such comments. To her, kindness wasn't a weakness. It was a kind of strength the world desperately needed. It was evening. Rose had just finished her shift at the hospital. She was tired, but she walked quickly because she wanted to catch the next bus that would take her home. The street was calm, and the sky was turning orange as the sun went down. As she walked towards the bus stop, she saw a young man sitting near a closed shop. He looked weak and tired. His clothes were old and dusty. His hair was rough, and his face looked hungry. When Rose walked past him, he spoke quietly. "Please, madam, excuse me. I'm sorry to bother you. I haven't eaten anything today. Can you help me with some money to buy food? Just a little." Rose stopped. She touched her small purse. She only had one note inside, her last money. She needed it to pay for the bus to go home, but when she looked at the man's eyes, she saw pain and truth. She took a deep breath. Then, without saying much, she gave him the money. "Here," she said gently, "buy food. Eat something." The young man stared at the money, shocked. His eyes became wet. "Thank you, thank you, thank you so much," he said. "God bless you. I will never forget this." Rose smiled softly and nodded. She knew she had no more money for the bus, but she didn't regret helping. Rose finally reached home, after walking from the last bus stop. She was tired. Her friend Anita was sitting on the bed. "You're late," Anita said. "What happened? You missed the bus again?" Rose sat down slowly. "Not exactly. I gave my money to someone." Anita paused. "What? Who?" "A young man," Rose said softly. "He was sitting on the street. He said he was hungry, so I gave him my last money." Anita was so surprised. "Rose, are you serious? Now you had to walk again. Why do you do this to yourself?" Rose smiled a little. "He needed it more than me." Anita shook her head. "You are too soft, too kind. One day people will use you. You can't just give money to strangers and then walk home like nothing happened." Rose looked tired but calm. "It's okay. I can walk, but hunger is harder than walking." Anita sighed loudly. "You're a fool, Rose. A sweet, gentle fool. I love you, but still, fool." Rose didn't argue. She quietly went to take a warm bath. Before she slept, she whispered to herself, "Maybe people think I'm foolish, but I'd rather be kind than cold." Far away, the young man sat beside a small bakery, eating bread for the first time that day. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, nurse. I promise one day I will repay you." His name was Ethan, and their story had just begun. The next day, Rose got to work early. After 1 hour, a pipe began to drip. Maintenance was called. A man in a dark blue overall walked in with a toolbox. It was the same young man from yesterday. Rose looked surprised. He looked surprised, too, then smiled a little. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," Rose answered softly. He knelt, changed a rubber ring, tightened a joint, and stopped the leak. Then he stood, wiped his hands, and faced her. "My name is Ethan," he said. "I work here as a plumber. Thank you for yesterday." Rose nodded. "I'm Rose. I know," he said gently. "I asked the cleaner your name. I wanted to thank you properly. I had not eaten for 2 days before you helped me. You gave me your last money. You saved me." Rose lowered her eyes. "I only did what I could." Ethan's voice was warm. It meant a lot. "Thank you." They were quiet for a moment. Then Ethan cleared his throat. "Can we be friends?" Rose looked up. His eyes were honest. "Yes," she said. "We can be friends." That evening, Rose reached home and dropped onto the chair. Anita looked up from her phone. "How was work?" she asked. Rose smiled a little. "I saw the man from yesterday. His name is Ethan. He came to the hospital today to fix the broken pipe. He's a plumber. We're friends now." Anita sat up straight. "Wait, what? The hungry stranger is a plumber and now you're friends?" Rose nodded softly. "Yes." Anita burst out laughing. "Rose, you gave your last money to a stranger and now you're friends with him. You are too soft. Too soft." Rose spoke gently. "He had not eaten for 2 days. He thanked me today. He works hard." Anita shook her head. "So what? Kindness will not pay your rent. Tomorrow you will give him your lunch too." "No," Rose said quietly, "but I will respect him." Anita folded her arms. "You are a sweet fool. I love you, but you are still a fool." Rose didn't argue. The next day, Rose did not go to work. It was her day off. But Ethan didn't know that. He thought Rose would be at the hospital like every day. So he went there in the afternoon. He wore his usual clothes, clean but old. In his hand, he carried a small paper bag with fresh bread and juice. He wanted to thank her properly. He walked into the hospital and went to the reception desk. The receptionist looked at him from head to toe. "Good afternoon," Ethan said politely. "Please, I'm here to see Nurse Rose. Can you tell her I am here?" The receptionist checked the duty list and said without smiling, "Rose is not on duty today. It's her day off." "Oh," Ethan said softly. He looked a little disappointed. "All right, thank you. I'll come back." But before he could finish, a loud, angry voice came from behind. "Who is this dirty man standing here?" Ethan turned around slowly. It was Dr. Bennett, the owner of the hospital. He looked at Ethan's boots, his clothes, his rough hands, and his face became full of anger and disgust. "Who allowed this man to stand inside my hospital?" he shouted. The receptionist quickly said, "Sir, he said he came to see Nurse Rose." "To see who?" Dr. Bennett shouted louder. "To see a nurse looking like this." He pointed rudely at Ethan. "You are filthy. You smell like grease and sweat. Do you want my patients to get infections? Do you want them to get sicker?" Ethan lowered his head. He spoke softly. "Sir, I'm sorry. I just came to say thank you too." "I don't care," Dr. Bennett yelled. "This is not a charity center. This is a hospital. We don't allow poor, dirty people to stand here. Get out right now." The receptionist looked down. Nurses nearby stopped and stared. Ethan held the small paper bag tightly. His voice was small. "I understand, sir. I didn't mean to cause trouble." "Good," the owner said coldly. "And don't you ever come back again. If I see you here again, I'll call the police. Now leave." Ethan slowly nodded. His heart felt heavy. He turned and walked out of the hospital building. Outside the gate, he sat on a bench and whispered to himself, "Maybe I was foolish to come." 2 days passed. It was early morning when Rose came back to work at the hospital. She walked in quietly, greeted the nurses, and went to sign the attendance book. But as soon as she finished, she heard a loud voice behind her. "Rose, come to my office. Now." It was Dr. Bennett, the hospital owner. Rose's heart beat faster. She followed him into his office. He looked angry, very angry. "So," he said, folding his arms, "that dirty plumber is your boyfriend." Rose looked shocked. "Sir, no, he is not my boyfriend. He is just my friend." Dr. Bennett scoffed. "Don't lie to me. He came here asking for you. He was standing in my hospital like a lost dog." Rose breathed in slowly. "Sir, please. He only came to say thank you. Nothing more." Dr. Bennett stepped closer and said in a low voice, "Rose, I have been asking you for months to go out with me. I offered you a better life, a car, a better apartment. You refused." Rose stood straight and answered calmly, "Sir, you are a married man. I don't date married men. It is wrong." His face turned red with anger. "But you accept a poor plumber," he shouted. Rose stayed calm. "He is not my boyfriend. He is just a friend. He did nothing wrong." Dr. Bennett frowned. "I don't care. I don't want to see him here again. If that man ever steps into this hospital again, you will be fired. Do you understand?" Rose felt pain in her chest. "Yes, sir. I understand." He stared at her for a moment. "Good. Now get back to work." Rose walked out quietly. Rose tried to focus on her work, but her heart was still heavy. She kept thinking about Ethan, how he was embarrassed in front of everyone. She wished she could tell Ethan she was sorry, but she couldn't. Ethan didn't have a phone, and she didn't know where he lived. So she just whispered softly to herself, "I hope he's okay." That same day, somewhere in town, Ethan spent the whole day working at a construction site. His expression stayed calm and silent. He didn't laugh with the others. He didn't joke. He didn't speak unless someone asked him something. One of the workers finally asked Ethan, "Why are you so quiet today?" Ethan sighed and muttered, "I'm fine just working." But he wasn't fine. His mind was somewhere else, standing in that hospital, being called dirty, being told to leave, and thinking of Rose, the only person who treated him with kindness. At lunch break, the workers sat in a group eating rice and meat from plastic plates. They laughed, talked loudly, and rested their tired feet. Ethan sat alone away from them. He only had dry bread and water. He ate slowly. Then from his pocket, he pulled out a small folded piece of paper. It was simple, old, torn from a book. On it, in small handwriting, were the words he wrote the night before. "Thank you for being kind, Rose." He looked at the paper quietly for a few seconds. Then he folded it again carefully and placed it back inside his shirt, close to his heart. 2 evenings later, Ethan stood quietly in front of Rose's house. No one knew how he found the address, but there he was, tired, dusty, holding a small folded letter in his hand. He knocked softly. The door opened, and Rose's friend Anita stepped out. She had never seen him before. Her eyes narrowed. "Yes, who are you and what do you want?" she asked. Ethan bowed his head slightly and said, "Good evening. My name is Ethan. I'm looking for Rose. I just came to see her for a moment." Anita folded her arms and raised an eyebrow. "Ethan," she repeated. Then her face changed. "Oh, so you were the one, the so-called hungry man she gave money to. The plumber?" Ethan didn't deny it. He only nodded once. "Yes, I just wanted to thank her. I wrote her something. Anita stepped closer and looked at him from head to toe with disgust. So this is how you look, she said. I have been wanting to see you. I thought maybe you would look better, but you look even worse than I imagined. Dirty clothes, rough hands, no car, no class, and you still have the guts to come here. Ethan stayed calm. I only came to give her this letter. I don't have a phone, so I couldn't call her. He held out the folded paper gently. Anita stared at it, then snatched it. A letter, she said, mocking him. You don't even have a common phone, and you are thinking of a woman. You must be very stupid, poor, and dreaming of love. Before Ethan could speak, she tore the letter into pieces right in front of him. Let me tell you something, Anita said coldly. Men like you should not come near women like Rose. You don't have money. You don't have a future. Go and work. Go and make money. Then think about love. Ethan's eyes dropped. He said quietly, please just tell her I came. Anita scoffed. I won't. Now leave and don't ever come back here again. Ethan nodded once and walked away slowly. Anita watched him leave, then shut the door firmly, but her heart was still troubled because one thing bothered her deeply. How did he know Rose's address? 1 week passed. Rose had not seen Ethan since the hospital owner insulted him. She thought maybe he forgot about her, or maybe he stayed away because of her job. Deep inside, she worried about him. One evening after her shift, Rose was walking home from the bus stop. The sun was going down. The street was quiet. Then she saw someone standing under a tree by the roadside. It was Ethan. His clothes were dusty from work, but when he saw her, he smiled softly. Rose, he said quietly. Rose stopped. Her heart jumped. Ethan, where have you been? Why didn't you come to the hospital again? He looked down for a moment, then said, I tried. I came to see you, but you were not at work that day. I went to your house instead. Rose's eyes widened. You came to my house. Ethan nodded slowly. Yes, I brought you a letter. I wanted to thank you properly. Rose's voice softened. What happened? He took a slow breath. Your friend was the one who came out. She didn't let me see you. She insulted me, called me a criminal, said I was dirty, useless, that I don't even have a phone, and she tore the letter I wrote for you. Rose felt anger rise in her chest. She did what? Ethan looked calm. It's okay. I'm used to such words. No, it's not okay, Rose said. She had no right to treat you like that. There was silence for a moment. Then Rose looked at him and asked quietly, But Ethan, how did you even find my house? I never told you my address. Ethan looked at her, a small smile forming on his face, gentle but full of mystery. I don't know how to explain it, he said. I just knew where to go. My heart led me. Maybe God did. I prayed and I walked, and somehow I reached your door. Rose stood still, staring at him. Her anger slowly turned into something else, something soft, something she couldn't name. The wind moved lightly between them. Ethan continued. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I just wanted to thank you for your kindness. That's all. Rose took a deep breath. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry for everything you went through because of me. Ethan shook his head gently. Don't say sorry. If I had to choose again, I would still come. Rose felt her heart melt. For a moment they both stood quietly by the road, the nurse with tired eyes, and the poor young man with gentle hands, and the world felt strangely peaceful. That night after seeing Ethan, Rose returned home, angry and hurt. The moment she entered the house, Anita was sitting on the chair. Rose stood in front of her angry. Why did you do that? Rose asked quietly. Anita looked up. Do what? You insulted Ethan when he came here. You tore his letter. You called him a criminal. Poor useless. Why? Anita frowned and stood. So he came to cry to you. Good. He needed to hear the truth. Rose clenched her fists. He came to thank me. He didn't beg for money. He didn't disrespect you. Yet you treated him like trash. Why, Anita? Because he is poor. Anita rolled her eyes. Because he's not good for you. You are a nurse. He is a dirty plumber. What future is that? I was protecting you. No, Rose said slowly. You were judging him without knowing him. You were cruel. Anita crossed her arms. And what? You love him. Rose didn't answer. She just walked to her room quietly and said, Kindness is not foolish. Cruelty is. A few days later, Ethan did not come to the roadside where he sometimes stood. Rose felt worried. She asked around. Nobody saw him. On the third day, someone told her a young plumber had fainted at a construction site. She rushed to the small government clinic, and there she found him. Ethan was lying on a hospital bed, pale and weak. His breathing was slow. The doctor said he had fever, infection, and exhaustion. He had been working without food, sleep, or rest. Rose held his hand and whispered, You're safe now. He opened his eyes weakly and said, You came. I'm not leaving, she said. For 1 week, Rose stayed in the hospital beside his bed. Her salary was small, but she used it to pay for his medicines and bills. When she didn't have enough money, she sold her gold chain, her mother's last gift, to pay the remaining amount. After 7 days, Ethan was finally strong enough to be discharged. The doctor signed the papers, and a nurse came into the room, holding them. She smiled gently and said, "You are free to go now. Your treatment is complete." Ethan sat quietly on the edge of the bed. He looked down at his hands and said softly, "Thank you, nurse." The nurse then asked, "Where will you go now?" Ethan lowered his head. I don't know." "You don't know," the nurse repeated softly. He shook his head. "I don't have family here. I don't have a house. I don't have money to rent a room yet. I don't know where to go." The nurse sighed sadly. She felt bad for him, but she was honest. "You can't stay here, Ethan. This is a hospital, not a home. We don't have space for people to remain after discharge." Ethan nodded silently. "I understand." Then moving slowly, he walked out of the ward. Outside, he sat on a wooden bench near the gate, hungry, unsure of his next step. Later, Rose came to the hospital. As she reached the hospital gate, she saw Ethan sitting alone on a bench outside. He looked so sad. Rose hurried to him. "Ethan, what are you doing here? Why are you outside?" Ethan looked up slowly. "They discharged me today." Rose was shocked. "Discharged you? Since when? Why didn't anyone tell me? They have my number. I was here just yesterday." "No one said anything." Ethan spoke quietly. "Rose, it's all right. Don't be angry." "No, it's not all right." Rose said, "You're still weak. You can hardly walk, and they just sent you out like this." He sighed. "They asked me where I would go. I said, I don't know. They said I couldn't stay inside the hospital building, so I came out here." Rose looked at him with pain in her eyes. "So you've been sitting here all alone?" He nodded. "Yes, I didn't want to disturb you." She took a deep breath. "Stand up, Ethan. You're coming with me." He shook his head gently. "No, your friend won't let me into the house." Rose looked at him. "Seriously, this is my life and my choice. You need rest, not the street. Let's go." Ethan didn't argue again. He stood up slowly. Rose held his arm to support him, and together they walked away from the hospital gate quietly, gently towards her home. When they reached her home, Rose opened the door and helped him inside. Anita was sitting on the sofa. She looked up, and her eyes widened immediately. "What? Him again?" she snapped. Rose said nothing and helped Ethan sit on the chair. "Rose, have you gone mad?" Anita shouted. "You brought this man back here after everything. I told him never to come again." Rose calmly replied. "He was discharged from the hospital. He was sitting outside alone with nowhere to go. I couldn't leave him like that." Anita scoffed loudly. "So is he your responsibility? Are you his wife, Rose? He's a poor plumber. Out of all people in the world, you chose him." Ethan lowered his head, embarrassed and silent. Rose's voice remained soft but firm. "He is my friend, and I will not abandon him. If you don't want to help, at least don't make it worse." Anita shook her head in disbelief. "One day you will regret this. Love does not pay rent." Rose ignored her and went to the kitchen. She brought water and bread for Ethan, placed it in front of him and said, "Eat a little. You need strength." Ethan looked at her with tired but grateful eyes. "Thank you for everything," he whispered. Rose gave a small smile. "Rest now. You are safe here." The next morning, Rose woke up early to prepare porridge for Ethan before leaving the house. After making sure Ethan had eaten and taken his medicine, Rose left the house to go to work at the hospital. She walked quickly, hoping she wouldn't be late. But the moment she stepped into the hospital, the head nurse told her, "The director wants to see you in his office." She went in quietly. Dr. Bennett, the hospital owner, sat behind his large desk looking angry. He didn't even ask her to sit. "So you finally decided to show up after disappearing for a whole week," he said coldly. Rose kept calm. "Sir, I was taking care of a sick person." He leaned forward. "A poor plumber?" His voice was full of disgust. "You left your work, your patients, this hospital for a worthless man sitting by the road." Rose didn't look away. He was very sick. He had no one else. Dr. Bennett's face turned darker. "You think this is a charity home? You think I pay you to run after poor men? Tell me, Rose, do you love him?" Rose stayed silent for a moment, then said softly, "I don't know what I feel. I just know he is a human being who needed help." Dr. Bennett's voice became low and dirty. "There is only one way I can let you keep your job. Spend one night with me." Rose's eyes filled with shock and disgust. "Sir, you're married," he smirked. "So what? Nobody has to know. You give me what I want and your job is safe." Rose's voice was calm but strong. "No, I will never do that." His smile disappeared. "Then you are fired. Leave your ID card on the table. Get out." Rose placed her hospital ID on his desk. "I would rather be jobless than be cheap," she said softly, then turned and walked out with her head high, even though her eyes were wet. Outside the hospital, she finally let the tears fall. She sat on a bench for a while, wiped her face and took a deep breath. She had no job now, no salary coming, and no idea what tomorrow would bring, but she still had her dignity. A week passed after Rose lost her job. She stayed at home taking care of Ethan while he slowly recovered. One evening, Anita came into the room with a serious face and said, "Rose, the landlord came today. I already paid my part of the rent. You have to pay your half now, or you must leave this house with that your poor ugly boyfriend." Rose looked down. "Anita, please. I don't have the money right now. I used it to pay for Ethan's hospital bills." Anita threw her hands up in anger. "That's your problem. Did he ask you to be a hero? I helped pay your rent last month. I will not do it again. I am tired of your foolish kindness. You chose a broke man over your future. Now deal with it." Rose's voice was soft, almost breaking. "Please, Anita, give me some time. I will find a way. Don't throw us out." Anita scoffed. "Us? So you and that dirty plumber are now us? You are unbelievable. I want my money today, or both of you leave tonight." Rose's eyes filled with tears. She begged again and again, but Anita refused to listen. "No more pity. I want money or I want you gone," Anita said coldly. Finally, Rose wiped her tears, stood up quietly, packed her small clothes into a worn-out bag, and walked outside silently. She sat by the door on the steps, her bag beside her, the evening breeze touching her face. She didn't shout. She didn't fight. She just waited. She waited for Ethan to return from the small job he went to try and do so they could leave together. No house, no job, no idea where to go next. Ethan returned just before sunset. He saw Rose sitting outside the house with her bag beside her. He stopped, confused. "Rose, what happened?" She looked up with tired eyes and forced a small smile. "Anita wants rent. I don't have it. She said I should leave. Both of us." Ethan looked at her for a moment. After a few seconds, he said softly, "It's okay. I have a little money with me. It's not much, but enough for tonight. Let's go to a hotel and stay there. Tomorrow we'll leave this place. I know someone, an old friend. We can go to his house and ask for help." Rose looked at him, surprised and unsure. "Are you sure?" He nodded gently. "Yes, you're not sleeping outside. Not while I'm here." She didn't argue. They both stood up and walked away from the house. They walked for some time until they reached a big hotel. Rose stopped and stared. The building was tall, shining, and beautiful. Expensive cars parked outside. A golden sign read Crystal Crest Hotel, 5-star. Rose turned to Ethan in shock. "Ethan, this place is too expensive. We can't stay here." Ethan only smiled a little. "Don't worry. Just come." They entered. Rose whispered, "Ethan, how did you get money for this kind of place?" He paused for a second, then said quietly, "My boss gave me some money at work today. I didn't want to waste it. I just wanted you to sleep somewhere safe and clean." Rose looked at him, confused but touched. She believed him. They checked in. The room was beautiful. White bed sheets, soft lights, clean bathroom. Everything smelling fresh and new. Rose sat on the edge of the bed, still in disbelief. "This doesn't feel real," she whispered. Ethan looked at her and smiled gently. "You deserve to rest too." She looked down, her voice soft. "Thank you," he simply said. "Good night, Rose." She lay on the bed, and for the first time in many days, she slept peacefully. The next morning, Ethan and Rose left the hotel and went to see his friend. They took a bus to a quiet, rich neighborhood. The houses were big and beautiful. Rose was surprised. She didn't expect Ethan to know anyone who lived in a place like this. They reached a large house with white walls and a wide compound. Ethan knocked on the gate. A young man in clean clothes opened it, looked at Ethan, and his face lit up with a big smile. "Ethan, my guy. Long time." He laughed and hugged him. Then he saw Rose and raised his eyebrows playfully. Ethan smiled and said, "This is Rose, my future wife. I love her and I want to marry her when I make it in life." Rose's eyes widened. She stared at Ethan in shock. His friend burst into laughter. "Ah, Ethan, lover boy, you don't tell me you don't turn husband material," he joked. "Bad guy, so you get liver like this." He looked at Rose and smiled kindly. "You are welcome. Any woman Ethan loves must be special." They all went inside. The friend, his name was Daniel, asked them to sit in the living room. The house was beautiful with big chairs and shining tiles. Daniel said, "You two can stay in the boys' quarters. It's small but clean. Stay as long as you want." Rose and Ethan both thanked him. They were happy and relieved. Later, when they entered the boys' quarters, Rose looked around and then turned to Ethan. "How do you have a rich friend like him? But you're working as a plumber. Can't you ask him to give you a better job?" Ethan sighed. "Because I did not go to university. Without a degree, I can't get an office job." Rose looked at him surprised. "But your English is very good. You don't sound like someone who didn't go to school." Ethan smiled softly. "I learned from people at work, from radio, from listening to conversations on the street. I like learning." Rose was silent for a moment, then said softly, Okay, but another question was still in her mind. She asked gently, "Why did you tell your friend you love me? You never said that to me." Ethan looked into her eyes with honesty. "Because it's true. I do love you very much. I want you to be my woman, my wife one day, if you will allow me." Rose's heart beat fast. "You love me?" "Yes," Ethan said simply. "With all my heart." Rose looked down, then slowly smiled. "I love you too, Ethan." He froze, surprised. You do? She nodded chilly. Yes, I do. Ethan's face lit up with the softest, purest smile she had ever seen. No money, no ring, no fancy place. But in that small boy's quarters, their hearts finally found peace. The next morning, Ethan left early to look for small work in town. So Rose stayed in the boys' quarters alone. Around afternoon, Daniel, Ethan's friend, called her from the main house and asked if she could help him cook lunch since the housemaid was off for the day. Because he was kind to them and gave them a place to stay, Rose agreed and went into the mansion's big kitchen to help. She was cutting vegetables when Daniel came in and leaned against the counter watching her silently. After a few minutes he said, "Rose, can I tell you something?" She looked up and smiled politely. "Yes." Daniel stepped closer. His voice became soft. "Since I saw you yesterday, I haven't slept. I like you a lot. Please be mine." Rose was surprised. "Excuse you?" But Daniel continued. "I know Ethan is your boyfriend, but think well. He is poor. You deserve better. Look around you, Rose. This mansion, these cars, this life. This is what women pray for. Be with me, and I will give you anything you want." Rose's face changed. Her voice was calm but firm. "Sir, not all women are the same. Some of us choose love, not money. I am happy with Ethan. We are poor now, but we eat together. We pray together. And God will bless us someday." Daniel tried again, smiling confidently. "You don't have to suffer with him. I can take care of you. Just say yes." Rose stepped back and said, "Because you helped us, I will not insult you. But please don't try this nonsense again. I came here to cook, not to be disrespected, and I can see you are not even hungry." She looked him in the eye. "I was only trying to help my man's friend. Please excuse me." Daniel stood silent, surprised and embarrassed. Rose left the kitchen and returned to the boys' quarters quietly, her heart beating fast. That night, Rose told Ethan everything that happened in the kitchen, every word Daniel said, every insult, every offer. Ethan became angry immediately and stood up. "I will confront him right now," he said. But Rose held his hand and shook her head. "No, please don't fight. I already told him never to say such things again. Let it end there." Ethan took a deep breath, calmed down, and slowly sat again. There was silence for a moment. Then Ethan looked at her with soft eyes. His hands trembled a little as he reached into his pocket and brought out a small silver ring. He knelt down on one knee right there in the boys' quarters. Rose covered her mouth in surprise. "Rose," he said quietly, "I may not have gold or riches now, but I have love. Will you marry me? Will you be my wife?" Rose's eyes filled with tears. Before she could answer, they suddenly heard clapping behind them. They turned. It was Daniel standing at the door, smiling. "Say yes," he said. Rose and Ethan were both shocked. Rose stood up, confused and angry. "What is this? Why are you clapping after what you did?" Daniel raised his hands peacefully. "Calm down. I need to explain. I did not mean to hurt you. I was testing you." "Testing me?" Rose repeated, confused. Daniel nodded. Then he turned to Ethan. "Forgive me, cousin." Rose froze. "Cousin? I thought he was just your friend." Nathan sighed softly and stood up. He held Rose's hands. "Rose, Daniel is not only my friend, he is my cousin brother, and this house is not his. It is mine." Rose's eyes widened. "What?" Ethan continued gently. "I am not just a plumber. My family owns construction companies, hotels, and estates. But I was tired of women loving me for money. I wanted someone to love me when I had nothing, so I hid my identity. I worked as a plumber. Daniel helped me test the people around me. He wanted to see if your love was true." Rose stood still, speechless. Daniel stepped forward. "I saw how you refused me when I offered you money, comfort, and this mansion. You stayed loyal to Ethan when he had nothing. You passed the test." Rose blinked slowly. "So all this time," Ethan looked into her eyes. "All this time I was only looking for a heart that was true, and I found it in you." Tears slowly rolled down her cheeks. Ethan knelt again. "Rose, now that you know everything, will you marry me?" Rose smiled through her tears and nodded. "Yes, Ethan, I will." Daniel clapped again, laughing. Finally, Ethan slipped the ring on her finger, stood up, and hugged her tightly. Rose whispered, smiling, "You could have just told me." Ethan smiled and whispered back, "I wanted to be sure." And in that small, quiet room, love, real love, became stronger than poverty, pride, or secrets. A month later, Rose and Ethan got married in a small but beautiful garden inside the mansion. It wasn't a loud wedding, but it was filled with peace, love, and real happiness. Rose could not believe that the man she once helped on the street was now her husband, and that the poor plumber was actually a quiet billionaire in disguise. Ethan held her hand and whispered, "Thank you for loving me when I had nothing." She smiled and said softly, "Thank you for choosing me when you had everything." Meanwhile, life was not kind to Anita. The wealthy married man she was seeing had traveled abroad with his wife and children without telling her. She had gotten pregnant for him and believed he would take her away to live a rich life, but he blocked her calls, disappeared completely, and left her alone. When she went to his house, she was told he had moved to another country. She was devastated. Her family rejected her. People gossiped about her, and the same landlord she once insulted Rose with was now threatening to throw her out because she couldn't pay her rent. She sat alone crying, remembering how she once mocked Rose for helping a poor man, while she herself chased a rich married one and lost everything. Dr. Bennett, the proud owner of the hospital, soon tasted a sorrow deeper than he ever imagined. He had mortgaged his entire hospital to secure a massive bank loan, dreaming of constructing a second branch, expanding his kingdom, and becoming untouchable. But the dream collapsed before it even began. The new hospital remained an unfinished skeleton of concrete and dust. The bank demanded their money. He had nothing left to give. They took the hospital from him. His career vanished. His wealth crumbled. His reputation dissolved. Even the luxury car he flaunted was repossessed. His wife packed her bags and left. And so Dr. Bennett sat alone in a dim, empty apartment, blaming fate, blaming the world, blaming even the devil, but never looking in the mirror. Yet somewhere deep in his chest, he knew the truth he didn't want to face. It was his pride. The same pride that once mocked a hungry man had now left him with an empty stomach. But Rose and Ethan walked a different path. They built their lives on love, patience, and sincerity. Rose always remembered the day she returned home exhausted, pockets empty but heart steady. Ethan always remembered the moment she gave him the last bit of money she had. Both of them believed something the world often forgets. Kindness may appear small, but sometimes it is the quiet doorway through which miracles enter.